From the late 1950s to the late 1970s, the Vietnam War lasted for almost 20 years, killing many Americans. Millions of Americans were drafted, and many more volunteered. This was a time of fear in the United States. From the late 1900s up until now, advancements in technology from the technology boom has greatly improved the lives of many Americans. On September 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers crashed as a result of a terrorist attack. What do all of these events have in common? These are significant events in history that many people today still remember.
My name is Malcolm Flint. I was a student in Ms. Belshie's class for 2 years. I race mountain bikes and play guitar, and I'm a millennial.
And since I was 6 years old, I grew up in Saratoga, and one sister, mom and dad, basic, family of four. I worked in the high tech, and I grew up in the high tech field.
I grew up in Southern California. I grew up at the beach. Very different culture. It was very relaxed.
I was born in Los Angeles, third generation Chinese American, and I've lived in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and then now I'm back here living in San Francisco.
Well, I was born and raised in California, actually in Nevada County, and it's a small town called Grass Valley. At the time, there was very, very few people living up there. It is the leftovers of the gold country, the mother lode country. There are 4 very famous gold mines there, and my father worked in all of those mines when those mines were active. So, yeah, it was kind of like a country bumpkin, I guess.
What I didn't realize at the time is this technology boom is going to go for 30, 40 years, and we're still in the middle of it, and who knows how much longer it's going to keep going.
I think there's positives and negatives to the smartphone craze. It's a completely different world, I believe, socially than it's ever been in the past, because it's so easy to get in touch with people. Pretty much every person at Monte Vista has a smartphone, usually an iPhone, but sometimes like Samsung or something or another. It's easy access to people. You always know where everyone is, so you can meet up really easily. You can plan things really easily. Like just today, spontaneously we decided, a friend of mine and me decided in physio class, let's go to a concert. And so by the end of the day, we had created a Facebook message and started getting people together, and it seems like it might happen. Although we'll see if it all ends up happening. And we even invited Jonathan here. But then there's another thing, I think there's a negative side to it as well, and that's that if you don't have a smartphone, like I don't have, it can be the same holds true. It's not easy to meet up with people, especially when everyone else has a smartphone. They expect that. And then it also, having the technology to access people all the time means that you're not as, I think, eager to go and meet people in real life and in person. And so it limits the number of times that you are together socially interacting face to face with someone else.
Cell phones did not exist. You had to make plans. This generation, you had to make plans. You had to show up. You had to show up when you showed up. If I wanted to see my husband I remember when we first moved up here, I was like, oh, I really want to take him out to lunch. He didn't have a cell phone. So I'd show up at his work. I would talk to the secretary, and I would say, oh, can you call Ian down? And then he would, oh, I can get a hold of him, or I can't get a hold of him. I would have to wait 15 or 20 minutes. And then if he showed up, great. If he didn't, well, I'd go off and go lunch by myself. So it's just a very different world. And I remember buying him his first cell phone and so excited. And he said, I don't want a cell phone. And we returned it. You know, a couple years later, my God, I have to actually touch my cell phone at times to make sure it's still there. I'm like, where's my cell phone? Where's my cell phone? Yeah. And I'm like, I feel like my mother used to be like with her big purse. Where's my purse? Where's my purse? You know, and I'm like, where's my cell phone?
So computers had the biggest impact in the way we live, mainly in the information age. I could look into something in more detail and dive into something by just going to my computer versus going to the library or whatever. So the ability to do that has been increasing, and it's just huge. Because I think for most of us, we've got a curiosity for what's going on years, and I wanted to look into some different beliefs that were out there that I didn't understand, and I could just go online and look that up.
Internet has now become like a utility. So utilities like electricity, right? Like you kind of need it, right? Electricity, water, and internet, and it's changed the way that we also view entertainment, where in my day, it's very easy to watch a 30-minute television cartoon show, right? And I know that, you know, as I got older, cartoon shows actually became shorter, right? I know that my sister watches SpongeBob, right? It cracks me up. It's only 15 minutes, right? But now a lot of kids of this generation, they watch YouTube. Or Vine, right? 6 seconds, or they'll watch a 4-minute, you know, YouTube clip.
It's just, you got a text, you've got Facebook, you've got email, you've got a telephone, you know, there are a number of different ways to communicate. So that is a huge difference. I've got concerns that it's taken us away from one-on-one time that you can have with other people. I see too many people that are just stuck with their, you know, with their phones. Anyway, it's a waste of time.
I'm a piranha in my school because I check my emails once every 5 days. It's not normal. It's just not normal, and it makes me feel like abnormal. And people are like, I'll send an email, and they respond right away. I'm like, oh my God, they're sitting at the computer, you know. And it blows my mind. I turn on the television, and I see this. And I remember seeing just the destruction. And my first thought was about Malcolm. I'm like, we're not safe. It was so devastating for me. And I didn't want Malcolm to see it, that we just turned off all media for a while. You know, I feel disappointed. I felt disappointed. I mean, I think after the Twin Towers came down, I felt disappointed. You have no control over what people do. You only have control over what you do.
For my generation, the defining point had to be the Vietnam War. In my 1965 class of Nevada Union High School, it was mandatory that all young men 18 years of age either join some branch of the military or be drafted into the Army. It was called conscription, or it was mandatory that everyone do that. So out of all of my classmates, only 3 of us survived until 1967. In 1967, I learned that all of my male classmates, all of my friends that I grew up with, had died in Vietnam. When their country called, they felt they had a duty to do it. Me personally, I kind of believe that what Jesus said, he said, pay back Caesar's things to Caesar's, but God's things to God. So I didn't believe that my life was owed to my country. I believed I owed them other things, and I've always tried to take care of my duties, whatever those might be. But whenever it comes to a conflict between what God asked of me and what the country asked of me, I definitely said I will follow what God has asked. And as a result of that, actually I survived that war. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have. I met an underclassmate in 1968, 69, and he also came back from the Vietnam War. He grabbed me, he hugged me, and he was a neighbor kid. And I thought he might be not happy with me because I didn't go, and he knew that. And so we sat down and we had a cup of coffee. He was all excited to see me, and that's, of course, when he was giving me a rundown of all the guys that didn't come home. And he looked at me and he said to me, "You and your brother were the only two smart ones." And I said, "Gus, what do you mean by that?" He said, "You knew better than to go do what we did. We thought we were doing the right thing, but you knew better than to go, and you didn't go."
The Sandy Hook shootings were a really big deal. I remember when they happened. It really sparked this whole debate on gun control because it was, and I think it's been it's a necessary debate, and it's been needing to happen for a long time. And I think it's sad that the Sandy Hook shootings had to happen in order for this debate to really fully be recognized and fully come out into a public's point of view. And I think I read once that the majority of people, even Republican Party people, and support restrictions on gun sales and where you keep weapons. I think there's and background checks. Everyone supports background checks. I think there's very few people who don't anymore. Although it's still having trouble. I think it's still having a little bit of trouble getting fully implemented. It really impacted me seeing that someone could go to an elementary school, of all places. I mean, and open fire like that.
As I was telling you, it feels weird because I now that I'm talking, my life is longer. Like I don't remember, like when I was younger, it wasn't so long and there wasn't so much. And now, as the years are going, there's so many things that affected me so many different ways.
This project really helped me to develop a better understanding of history and how it really affected people when these events occurred. And it really helped me understand each person in a different way, in a different aspect. And I think it also really benefited the interviewees, helping them to remember what happened.